Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss about coherent and incoherent addition of waves. In this video, we will discuss about coherent sources, constructive interference, destructive interference, principle of superposition, phase difference, path difference, etc. We will discuss the whole concept given in class 12 textbook. We will discuss each and every sentences given in class 12 textbook. But before discussing about the coherent and incoherent addition of waves, we want to recall the concept of superposition principle or principle of superposition, which we have discussed in 11th standard, class 11. Now, according to the principle of superposition or superposition principle, the resultant displacement produced by a number of waves is the vector sum of displacements produced by each of the waves. According to the principle of superposition or according to superposition principle, the resultant displacement produced by a number of waves is the vector sum of displacements produced by each of the waves. For example, for simplicity, consider two waves. One is this red one, another one is this brown one. Consider these two waves propagating in the same medium. Okay, they are propagating through the same medium. Now, let P, any point, okay, let an arbitrary point P, then let the displacement produced by this wave at a particular point P, whatever be that point, you can consider any point P in that medium. Now, let the displacement produced by this wave at that point P be y1, and let the displacement produced by this wave at that point P in the medium, let it be y2. Okay, P, it is the point in the same medium. Both waves are moving through the, or both waves are propagating through the same medium. And P is a point in that medium. Y1 is the displacement produced by the first wave and y2 is the displacement produced by this second wave. Okay, so what about the displacement at P of the medium? It would be the vector sum of, that is, if I am taking the net displacement as y, then that will be equal to what? The vector sum of displacement produced by, the vector sum of displacements produced by the wave 1 and the wave 2 at the point P. See, the net displacement at the point P would be like this. Or the particle at P would move like this. That would execute a motion like this. Here, if the amplitude of the, I will tell you why we have drawn one such wave here as the resultant wave. If the amplitude of the first wave, that is the maximum displacement along the y direction, if it is 1 centimeter for the first wave, and I am taking the same 1 centimeter here as the amplitude of the second wave. Okay, amplitude of the first wave is 1 centimeter. Amplitude means the maximum displacement from its mean position. Okay, from this one is the mean position. Then from its mean position and along the y direction, that's the maximum displacement. Now, 1 centimeter is the maximum displacement. That is the amplitude of the first wave. And 1 centimeter is the amplitude of the second wave too. So, what will be the what will be the amplitude of the resultant wave? This one is the resultant wave. What will be the amplitude of the resultant wave? It will be 2 centimeter. Okay, we are getting this resultant wave from these two waves. This one has an amplitude 1 centimeter. This also has an amplitude 1 centimeter. So, the resultant wave will have an amplitude 2 centimeter. How or why? You see, at this particular point, consider this part of the two waves. Here, the crest of the first wave and the crest of the second wave. Here we have the crest of the first wave and here we have the crest of the second wave now at this particular point in the medium. Okay, both have amplitudes of 1 centimeter now. So, corresponding to this, the resultant wave will have a crest. Okay, the resultant wave will have a crest of amplitude 1 centimeter plus 1 centimeter, which is equal to 2 centimeter. Both displacements are measured above the mean position now. That is along the positive y direction now. Okay, along the positive y direction and above the mean position. Okay, so here we will have the net displacement above the mean position as 2 centimeter. Okay, we will have the amplitude as 2 centimeter for the resultant wave. Okay, similarly, here we have the trough of the second wave and here we have the trough of the first wave. Okay, so what happens? These two has an amplitude of 1 centimeter and both are along the negative y direction, that is below the mean position. So corresponding to these two, when these two waves superimpose, what happens? Corresponding to this, the resultant wave will have a trough. Okay, resultant wave will have a trough of displacement or amplitude 2 centimeter. Okay, both are 1 centimeter below the, okay, both are 1 centimeter below the mean position. So resultant wave will have an amplitude 1 plus 1. Okay, 2 centimeter and again below the mean position. Alright, that is the particle at P will execute a motion like this. A particle at P will execute a motion like this. Okay, it will move 2 centimeter up, then comes to the mean position. Okay, then goes 2 centimeter down and again comes to the mean position. Then again goes to 2 centimeter up, coming to the mean position like that. Next, if we consider two waves like this, okay, one is this, another one is this. Let both the waves have the amplitude of 1 centimeter. That is, both the waves produce a maximum displacement, okay, maximum displacement of 1 centimeter. Okay, both the waves produce a maximum displacement of 1 centimeter or the amplitude, both the waves have an amplitude of 1 centimeter. Alright, now when these two waves, let both the waves are propagating through the same medium. When these two waves reach at a particular point, say P of the medium, what would be the resultant displacement of a particle present in that particular point of the medium? See, at this particular point, we have the crest of the first wave. And corresponding to the crest of the first wave, here we have the trough of the second wave. Okay, that is the maximum displacement produced by the first wave at P is 1 centimeter but above the mean position, that is along the positive y direction. Okay, along the positive y direction. And the maximum displacement produced by the second wave at P is again 1 centimeter but below the mean position, that is along the negative y direction. So what about the net displacement produced by the two waves at this particular point P of the medium? According to the principle of superposition or according to the superposition principle, the net displacement produced by these two waves is the vector sum of displacements produced by each of the waves. The displacement produced by the first wave is 1 centimeter upwards and at the same time the displacement produced by the second wave is 1 centimeter downwards. So their vector sum leads to 1 centimeter minus 1 centimeter. Why this negative sign here? Because we are finding out the vector sum now. One is 1 centimeter upwards, another one is 1 centimeter downwards. So that is why we have provided one negative sign here. So 1 centimeter minus 1 centimeter is equal to 0 centimeter or 0. That is, the particle at P will remain in its mean position because there is no displacement. And similarly, you take this point, this part of the wave. Here we have the trough of the wave, first wave, and corresponding to that here we have the crest of the second wave. So again, minus 1 centimeter plus 1 centimeter equal to 0. So net displacement, corresponding to that, the net displacement will be 0. Okay, then again next point. See, here we have the crest of the first wave and trough of the second wave. So corresponding to that, here we have the net displacement as 0. Okay, so we will have, this cannot be considered as a straight, a wave actually. We have drawn the net displacement like this, that is along the mean position. That is, there won't be, the particle at P will remain in its mean position. It won't execute a motion like this. Okay. Next, consider two waves like this. Let the amplitude of the first wave be 2 centimeter. That's the maximum displacement produced by this wave along the y direction is 2 centimeter. And let the amplitude, that's the maximum displacement produced by the second wave, let it be 1 centimeter. And now when these two waves reach, let us imagine both the waves are propagating through the same medium. Now, when these two waves reach at the point P, at a particular point P of the medium, you see, corresponding to the crest of the first wave, we have the trough of the second wave. That is, the first wave tries to, corresponding to the crest of the first wave, here we have the trough of the second wave. That is, the first wave tries to produce a maximum displacement of 2 cm at the point P along the positive y direction. Okay, and corresponding to that, the second wave tries to produce a maximum displacement of 1 cm along the negative y direction at that point P at the same time. So, what about the net displacement at the point P? 2 cm up, so plus 2 cm, and 1 cm downwards, so minus 1 cm. 2 minus 1 is what? 1 cm, no? This 1 is actually plus, no? So, plus 1 cm will be the corresponding the amplitude of the resultant wave. So, here we have the resultant wave. See, this is the resultant wave. Here you see 2 cm up and 1 cm down. So, the resultant wave will have an amplitude of 1 cm. This is positive, no? So, above the mean position. So, above the mean position and having an amplitude of 1 cm, we will have a resultant wave like this. Okay, corresponding to, now you see, corresponding to the trough of the first wave, here we have the crest of the second wave. And this trough of here this is 2 cm but below the mean position, so minus 2 cm. Okay, and here this is 1 cm but above, so plus 1 cm. Minus 2 plus 1, what is that? Minus 1 cm. Minus 1 cm means 1 cm, but we want to measure from the mean position along the negative y direction. So corresponding to these two, we will have a resultant wave like this. Okay, we will have a resultant wave like this with corresponding to these two positions of the waves. Actually, we will have minus 1 cm amplitude. No, the resultant amplitude, resultant displacement is minus 1 cm. That is 1 cm downwards. So, we will have that part of the wave here. Okay, similarly, you can have the other parts of the wave. So, we will have the resultant wave like this. So, I hope you understood about the principle of superposition very clearly. Now, we want to understand about phase difference and path difference. The phase difference is the difference in the phase angle of two waves. Path difference is the difference in the path traversed by the two waves. See here, we have two waves. One is drawn by an orange color, another one is of green color. Now, at this particular point, the orange wave has a displacement 0 and the green wave has a displacement minus a. Okay, now at pi by 2, orange wave has a maximum displacement which is plus a, and corresponding to that at pi by 2, the green wave, its displacement is 0 because green wave is here, no, at this particular point, that is it is on the mean position, no. So, its green wave's displacement is 0 at pi by 2. Okay, so orange wave is leading by a phase difference of pi by 2. See, orange wave has reached its maximum at pi by 2, but this green wave has reached its maximum at pi only. So, there is a phase difference between these two. Okay, orange wave has reached its maximum at pi by 2, but the green wave has reached its maximum at pi only. So, there is a phase difference between these two. That phase difference is pi minus pi by 2. Okay, orange wave has reached its maximum at pi by 2, but the green wave has reached its maximum only at pi. So, there is a phase difference between them, and that phase difference is what? Pi minus pi by 2. Pi minus pi by 2 is equal to what? 2 into pi, 2 pi. 2 pi minus pi divided by 2, that is again pi by 2. So, the phase difference is pi by 2 here. Okay. Now, consider two sources of waves. One is S1, another one is S2. And consider a point Q here. The two waves are traveling towards the point Q. This wave is traveling towards the point Q, and the wave from the source 2 is also traveling towards the point Q. Okay, when these two waves reach at the point Q, At that point, there can be or there cannot be a phase difference between these two waves. Did you understand what I said? Let the two waves are in phase initially. In phase means what? Or let the two waves are in phase at this point when they reach at the point Q. In phase means what? If at this particular point Q in the medium, the crest of the first wave from the source S1 meets the crest of the second wave from the source S2, then these two waves are, and similarly the trough of the first wave meets the trough of the second wave. Okay, if at this particular point Q in the medium, the crest of the wave from the source S1 meets the crest of the wave from the source S2, and trough of the first wave meets the trough of the second wave, then these two waves are said to be in phase. Okay, that is at this point Q, crest of the two waves meet, then trough of the two waves meet, then again crest of the two waves meet, then again trough of the two waves meet, like that. Okay, now initially the two waves can be in phase sometimes. But you know, when they reach here at this point Q, there can be a phase difference at this point Q. How? Because there is a difference in path, no? There is a path difference, no? The path length for the wave from S1 to Q, that is S1Q. Okay, and the path length for the wave from the source S2 to Q is S2Q. And see here, S2Q, that path is greater than S1Q. So there is a path difference. There is a path difference S1Q minus S2Q. Right. See, after covering this much path, the crest of the wave S1 may reach here at this point Q. But since the wave from S2 has to travel S2 has to travel some more distance, or S2 has to travel more path length, sometimes the trough of this wave might be reaching here. Okay, so it can be the situation like this too. Okay, initially these two waves can be in phase, but since there is a path difference between these two waves, okay, S2Q is greater than S1Q here. So obviously there is a path difference, S2Q minus S1Q. There is a path difference S2Q minus S1Q here. So there can be a phase difference between these two waves. Okay, that is, if they are in phase at the point Q, then the crest of the first wave will meet the crest of the second wave. Trough of the first wave will meet the trough of the second wave, like that. But since there is a path difference between these two, sometimes the crest of the first wave may meet the trough of the second wave, or it can be the situation like this too. Okay, initially these two waves, they can be in phase, but when they reach here at this point Q, since there is a path difference, since there is a difference in path traveled by these two waves, there can be a phase difference too at this point Q. And for a path difference lambda, the corresponding phase difference is 2 pi. Okay, that is, if I am representing a wave like this, then from here to here, that's the wavelength of the wave. So corresponding to the path difference of lambda, see, if I am taking the angle here 0 pi, 2 pi, like that, no? So lambda corresponds to 2 pi phase difference. Okay, lambda path difference corresponds to 2 pi phase difference. So for a path difference of lambda, the corresponding phase difference is 2 pi. Okay, for a path difference of lambda, corresponding phase difference is 2 pi. Or we can write phase difference. Okay, phase difference is equal to 2 pi by lambda path difference. Phase difference is equal to 2 pi by lambda path difference. So the relation between phase difference and path difference is phase difference is equal to 2 pi by lambda path difference. So lambda path difference corresponds to 2 pi by lambda into, if I am taking this path difference as lambda, then lambda cancel. So we are getting the phase difference as 2 pi. Okay, so for a path difference of lambda, the corresponding phase difference is 2 pi. So lambda path difference corresponds to 2 pi phase difference. Okay, then if I am taking this phase difference as phi, okay, I am just representing this phase difference as phi, This is equal to 2 pi by lambda. I'm just representing the path difference as delta. So we can write one relation like this. Phi is equal to 2 pi by lambda into delta, where phi is the phase difference and delta represents the path difference. Okay. If the path difference is lambda, the corresponding phase difference is 2 pi. Okay, the difference in the distances of a point from the two sources, that is actually called as what? The path difference. Now, consider two needles. One is here at S1, another one is here at S2, moving periodically up and down in an identical fashion in a trough of water. S1 produces a water wave. S2 also produces a water wave. Okay, and at a particular point P, okay, I'm considering a particular point P somewhere here. At a particular point P, if the phase difference between the displacements produced by each of the waves does not change with time, then the two sources are said to be coherent. Okay, that is two wave sources S1 and S2 are said to be coherent if their frequency and waveform are identical and their phase difference is constant. This figure actually shows the positions of crusts which are drawn by these solid lines. Okay, this orange colored one, those are the waves produced by the source S1, and this green colored one, that is the waves produced by the source S2. And these solid lines represent the crest of the wave, and these dotted lines actually represent the trough of the wave. Okay, so this figure actually shows the positions of crests which are these solid lines. Okay, these solid lines, and troughs which are these dashed lines at a given instant of time. So here you see at this particular point, I'm considering this particular point. So at this particular point, the crest of the wave from S1, the solid line, that is the crest. Okay, and orange colored one, that is of source S1. So the crest of the wave from S1, okay, that meets what? The crest of, okay, I'm taking this particular point. Here you can see that the crest of the wave from S1 meets the crest of the wave from S2. Okay, so here we will get a maximum displacement. Okay, at this particular point, we will get a maximum displacement, which is also called as antinode. Alright, and here you see, if I am considering some other point, I will consider a point here. Okay, I am considering a point here. So here you see, the trough of the wave from the trough of the wave from S2 meets the crest of the wave from S1. Okay, that is trough and crest are meeting here. So at this particular point, we will get zero displacement, and that is all. No displacement, which is also called as nodes. And if you are considering this particular point, the trough of the wave from S1 meets the trough of the wave from S2. Here also we will get the maximum displacement. And here you see the crest of the wave from S1 meets the trough of the wave from S2. So here you will get minimum displacement or zero displacement. And here you see the trough of the wave from S1 meets the trough of the wave from S2. So you will get maximum displacement. And here you see the trough of the wave from S1 meets the crest of the wave from S2. So here you will get the minimum displacement or zero displacement. Alright, now if we are considering a point P which is equal distance away from S1 and S2. That is the distance from S1 and distance from S2 to that point P are the same. So if the point P is equal distance away from S1 and S2, then we can write S1P is equal to S2P. That is the distance from S1 to P is equal to the distance from S2 to P. So if the point P is equal distance away from S1 and S2, we can write S1P is equal to S2P. Okay, that is the distance to the point P from the source S1 is equal to the distance to the point P from the source S2. So, the waves from S1 and S2 will take the same time to travel to the point P. and waves that emanate from S1 and S2 in phase will also arrive at the point P in phase. That is, if the two waves emanating from S1 and S2 were in phase initially, since the distances S1P and S2P are equal, when they reach here at the point P, they would be again in phase. Because they were already in phase and there is no path difference because S1P is equal to S2P. Okay, now if we take the displacement produced by the source S1 at the point P as y1 is equal to a cos omega t, and the displacement produced by the source S2 at the point P, I am taking it as y2 is equal to a cos omega t again, because we are taking the two waves of same amplitude a and same frequency omega, and they are in phase. That means there is no phase difference between them. Okay, so y1 is equal to a cos omega t, y2 is also equal to a cos omega t. Then the resultant displacement at the point P would be what? Y equal to y1 plus y2. The resultant displacement at the point P would be y1 plus y2, which is from the superposition principle. So this is equal to what? y1 is equal to a cos omega t, y2 is also a cos omega t. So a cos omega t plus a cos omega t is what? 2a cos omega t. So we are getting y is equal to 2a cos omega t. Alright, that is, the wave from S1 alone will try to make a displacement A for the particle at the point P, and the wave from S2 will also try to make, will try alone to make a displacement of amplitude A for the particle present at the point P. But when these two waves reach at this particular point P, the particle at the point P will displace with an amplitude 2A. Okay, now let the intensity of the wave, let the intensity produced by the source S1 be I0. Okay, I0 is the intensity produced by the source S1. Alright, so intensity is actually proportional to the square of the amplitude. That is, I0 is proportional to A square, because A is the amplitude now. Okay, so square of the amplitude means I0 is proportional to A square. That is, I0 is equal to some constant into A square. Alright, then for S2 also, the intensity produced by this S2 is also, that can also be taken as I0, because the amplitude is the same. Okay, so I0 is proportional to A square again. So I0 is equal to some constant into A square. So what about the resultant intensity at the point P? The resultant intensity I am taking the resultant intensity as I is proportional to what? The resultant amplitude is what? 2A. So 2A square. That is, I is equal to some constant into 4A square. Okay, 2 square is 4, then A square. Then some constant into A square can be taken as I0. So we can write I is equal to 4 into I0. Now see, here we have the two sources. One is S1, another one is S2. Let this brown colored line, let this line be the perpendicular bisector of S1 and S2. Perpendicular bisector is the line which cuts a line segment, that is, I have used a dotted line here which connects this S1 and S2, the two sources. So this is the perpendicular bisector of S1 and S2. Perpendicular bisector is the line which cuts a line segment into two equal parts, that is here and here, two equal parts at 90 degree. Now, at any point on this perpendicular bisector of S1, S2, that is, if I am considering a point here P, at any point on the perpendicular bisector of S1, S2, the intensity will be 4I0. Okay, why? Because any point, you can consider this point, you can consider this point, or you can consider this point. Any point on the perpendicular bisector is the same distance from each source. Okay, that is, if you are considering a point P here, then from S1 to P and from S2 to P, S1P will be equal to S2P. Then if you are considering this particular point, then from S1 to this point and from S2 to this point, the distance would be the same. You can consider another point here on the perpendicular bisector. So the distance from here and the distance from here, both will be the same. So at any point on the perpendicular bisector, okay, the intensity would be 4I0. Because any point on the perpendicular bisector is the same distance from each source. So there is no path difference and the two waves were initially in phase. Okay. And here the two sources S1 and S2 are said to interfere constructively, and we have what is referred to as constructive interference. Okay, constructive interference. That is, here the two waves from the two sources were in phase, no? And constructive interference occurs when the maxima of two waves add together so that the amplitude of the resulting wave is equal to the sum of the individual amplitudes. That is, here you see we have taken one as, the displacement produced by, the wave from the source S1 as y1 equal to a cos omega t, and we have taken the displacement produced by the wave from the source S2, or the displacement produced by S2 is taken as y2 is equal to a cos omega t. Okay, and the amplitude is A here and it is also A here, and you see the resultant amplitude is, resultant displacement is y equal to 2a cos omega t. That is here the amplitude of the resultant wave is what? 2a. It is a sum of individual amplitudes, no? That is a plus a is equal to 2a. Okay, that is the two waves from the, here the two waves from the two sources were in phase. Okay, omega t, a cos omega t, there is no phase difference between them. So we consider the two waves from the, from the two sources were in phase already, and constructive interference occurs when the maxima of the two waves add together so that the amplitude of the resulting wave is equal to the sum of the individual amplitudes. So here you see the amplitude of the resultant wave is 2a. It is a sum of the amplitudes of individual amplitudes, no? That is a plus a. Amplitude in this case is a, amplitude in this case is a, and the resultant amplitude is 2a, which is a sum of a plus a. Which is a sum of individual amplitudes a and a. That is a plus a is equal to 2a. Okay. That is, when two waves meet in such a way that their crest line up together, then it is called as constructive interference. That is, you can see that one wave is this with an amplitude a, another one wave is this with an amplitude a, and you can see that at a particular instant of time, at a particular point P in the medium, the crest of the two waves line up, no? Okay, crest meets crest. So crest of the two waves line up and trough of two waves line up. Okay, trough meets trough. Okay, in this case, constructive interference takes place and we will get the resultant displacement as what? The sum of the individual displacements. That is a plus a. That is, this will be the resultant wave with an amplitude 2a. So when the two waves, when two waves meet in such a way that their crests line up together, then it is called constructive interference. Next, consider two sources S1 and S2. Small letter d, it is the distance or separation between these two sources S1 and S2. Okay, and consider a point Q such that S1Q, that is from here to here, the distance from S1, the source S1 to the point Q, S1Q is equal to 7 lambda and S2Q is equal to 9 lambda. And let S1Q and S1Q both are greater than this distance d. Okay, now the two waves, you can see two waves are drawn here. The two waves are emanating from the two sources. There is a path difference travelled by these two waves, no? That is, S2Q minus S1Q is equal to what? There is a path difference travelled by these two waves, no? What is that path difference? S2Q minus S1Q, which is equal to what? S2Q is given as 9 lambda and S1Q is given as 7 lambda. So this is equal to what? 9 lambda minus 7 lambda, which is equal to 2 lambda. So, we got the path difference between the two waves. Path difference travelled by these two waves as 2 lambda. This 2 lambda actually corresponds to 2 cycles. That is, you can see here, I have just drawn a wave here. From here to here, this is taken as one cycle. Then from here to here, this is the second cycle. Okay, then from here to here, this distance, is actually equal to what? The wavelength of the wave. Similarly, from here to here, this distance is equal to the wavelength of the wave. So, 2 lambda plus lambda, 2 lambda corresponds to what? 2 cycles. Okay, 2 lambda corresponds to 2 cycles. That is, the waves from S1 will arrive at Q exactly 2 cycles earlier than the waves from S2. Because S1Q is less than S2Q now. Okay, so waves from S1 will reach here before this wave from S2 now. But you see, there will be, these two waves, though there is a path difference between these two waves, actually path difference, there is a path difference traveled by, difference in path traveled by these two waves, though there is a path difference, they will be again in phase when they reach here at this point Q. That is, crest of one wave meet the crest of the other wave and trough of one wave meet the trough of the other wave when they reach here at this point Q. For example, if the displacement produced by the source S1, okay, if I am taking the displacement produced by the source S1 as Y1, so Y1 is equal to, I am taking it as A cos omega t. Okay, then the displacement, if I am taking the displacement produced by the source S1 as Y1 equal to A cos of omega t, then the displacement produced by S2, displacement produced by S2, that can be written as Y2 is equal to, I am writing it as A cos of omega t minus 4 pi. If the displacement produced by the source S1 is given as Y1 equal to A cos omega t, then the displacement produced S2 will be Y2 equal to A cos of omega t minus 4 pi. Why did I write like this? See, there is a 2 lambda path difference now. We already said that lambda path difference corresponds to 2 pi phase difference. Okay, so 2 lambda path difference corresponds to 2 into 2, 4 pi phase difference. Okay, we have discussed about one such formula, no? Phase difference phi is equal to 2 pi by lambda into path difference delta. Okay, so if we are taking the path difference as 2 lambda, here the path difference is 2 lambda. So this becomes 2 pi by lambda into 2 lambda. Lambda, lambda cancel. So phi is equal to what? 2 into 2, 4 pi. Okay, so 2 lambda path difference corresponds to 4 pi phase difference. That is why 1 4 pi is written here. Okay. So, this 4 pi in this expression actually shows the phase difference 4 pi between these two waves. Now, why this is like omega t minus 4 pi? Why it is written as minus 4 pi? Because this is actually the displacement produced by the source S2. And here we have written one negative sign. Why? Because the wave from S2 arrives at Q is actually delayed by 2 cycles. Okay, it is delayed by 2 cycles. Delayed. That is why a negative sign is marked here. Okay, but you see, Y2 is equal to A cos of omega t minus 4 pi. But you see, this can be written as A into cos of, I am taking minus sign outside. So, this becomes what? 4 pi minus omega t. Okay, now you see cos of minus theta is equal to plus cos theta. So cos of minus of 4 pi minus omega t can be written as A into cos of 4 pi minus omega t, because cos of minus theta equal to cos theta. So cos of minus of this one, this can be taken as theta. So that will be equal to cos theta. Theta means 4 pi minus omega t here. Now this can be written as what? A into cos of 4 pi can be written as 2 pi plus 2 pi. Okay, minus omega t is here. Then I am just putting a bracket here. So this becomes A cos of 2 pi plus 2 pi minus omega t. So this is like, A cos of 2 pi plus theta. Okay, cos of 2 pi plus theta is equal to cos theta, no? You have studied this, no? ASTC. So 2 pi, cos of 2 pi plus. 2 pi plus means that comes here, no? Okay, here 90 minus 360 plus. 360 plus means 2 pi plus. Okay, 90 plus 180 minus, then 180 plus 270 minus, 270 plus 360 minus, then 360 plus 90 minus. 360 plus means 2 pi plus, so 2 pi plus, all positive, so cos is positive here. So cos of 2 pi plus theta is equal to what? Cos theta. Similarly, a cos of, here cos of 2 pi plus this can be taken as theta, so that will be equal to cos of theta itself. Okay, so this can be written as a into cos of 2 pi minus omega t. Okay, now you see this is a cos of 2 pi minus omega t. So cos of 2 pi minus theta is equal to what? See, 2 pi minus means that comes here, no, 360 minus this region. So 2 pi minus here cos is positive. So cos theta itself. So a cos of 2 pi minus omega t, this is equal to what? A cos of omega t itself. Okay, so you see we have taken this y1 as y1 is equal to a cos omega t, and we got there is a 4 pi phase difference between these two waves, and the wave from S2 is delayed by 2 cycles. That is y1 negative sign is marked here. So we got the displacement produced by the source S2 as y2 equal to a cos of omega t minus 4 pi. But you see this a cos of omega t minus 4 pi is again equal to what? A cos omega t. Okay, so y1 equal to a cos omega t, y2 is also equal to a cos omega t. That is, these two displacements are again in phase. So as we said already, the intensity will be again 4I0. Okay, and it gives rise to a constructive interference. That is, here we are actually taking one assumption that the amplitudes of the displacements produced by each wave are nearly the same. So we are getting both are in phase, and when these two waves reach at the point Q, constructive interference will take place here.